What's up, everybody? What is up? Let me see if I can get this software connected. I never figure out how to get these things started, but hey, uh, but I think I got it going. Um, Let me see. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is a continuation of a series of videos that I've done. This is not going to be long. I repeat, this is not going to be long. So, as everyone knows by now, is that Tasha K has been cited in an article, and the allegations out there is that she's been involved with the illegal procurement of serendipitous information, if you will, or she has access to some privileged information which involves R. Kelly and the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And there's been a lot of blogging about whether or not whether or not she'll be arrested. So the only blogging, hey, what's going on, Priscilla? By the way, guys, you're welcome to hop on and come and talk to me. Let me go ahead and basically post the link in the video for anyone who wants to join. 1 second here. Feel free to hop on, Priscilla. Let's have a conversation. So we've been talking about the possibility of her being sued. I'm sorry, we've been talking about the possibility of her being arrested. So the one thing I haven't heard too much about is the possibility of her being sued by R. Kelly. Now, there's a few people that's come out and they've actually talked about this already. And I think one of them is the lawyer you know. And he actually said a couple of things. Some of the stuff I'm actually going to make a video about, and that's whether or not Tasha K is protected under the First Amendment. And, that's going to be a interesting, thing to talk about, whether or not Tasha K can walk um, away from these allegations and not even have to worry about being arrested or have to worry about going to jail. So I'm going to say, I'm not a lawyer, so I just get on the internet and I basically just speak my mind based off of, things I've read. And after hearing the lawyer, I actually did some research, and it all depends. It all depends. So, be on the lookout for that video. That video is going to be coming soon, whether or not Tasha K can be held liable, right? I think this time what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to come to Tasha K's defense, if you will. Not that she needs or even wants me to come to her defense, but for the sake of a conversation, right? A conversation in these YouTube streets, because all the bloggers want to know what would happen if they get a hold of information that's leaked. What happens if you get a hold of leaked information? Well, that's going to depend, and it's going to depend on a lot of different things. So be on the lookout for that video. But this live stream is mostly going to be about Tasha K and the possibility that she would be sued by R. Kelly. Now, I actually have several videos on my channel already where I talk about the possibility. And it's kind of funny because a lot of things that I said in those past videos came to light, right? So this was way before, I think this was way before Cardi B sued Tasha K. But basically, I have a lot of videos on my channel where I talk about defamation of character, invasion of privacy, and false light. And I think, like I said, the lawyer has already commented on some of these things, and those guys are the subject matter experts because they've gone to school and They probably have experience in the courtroom, but maybe it's not as much as you think. But nonetheless, they're the subject matter experts. I'm just, hopping on here as a non-attorney running my mouth. But with that said, you don't need a law to read and understand and educate yourself about the law, right? You don't need a law degree to read. And Regina White, what's going on? You don't need the law degree to read and educate yourself about the law. So, with that in mind, we're here to ask the question: should R. Kelly sue Tasha K? Right? And can the R. Kelly sue Tasha K? Harlem, New York, what's up? And I guess I should, take some talking. I'm not really organized right now, so I don't have notes in front of me. I never actually really have notes in front of me, but I'm just going to try to, make some notes really quickly, just so that I can, be a little organized with my little talking points here. Give me a second. So, the first thing that I probably want to look at this from a perspective of invasion of privacy, right? Second thing I probably want to look at is false light. The third thing I could probably talk about or think about is emotional distress, right? Intentional, intentional, I can't spell worse shit. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And another thing we can look at is unintentional infliction of emotional stress, right? Is that all I want to talk about right now? So we got invasion of privacy, false light. There's another one, invasion of privacy. Um, yeah, so invasion of privacy and false light, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and unintentional. I think there's actually a third one. I just can't remember what it is. Like I said, I do have videos on my channel where I talk about a lot of this stuff and the possibility that she could be sued. But I admit I didn't really come well prepared to do this video. So we're just gonna wing it here. So all right, so let's just go ahead and we'll take defamation of character. That's the other one. So we'll go defamation of character. Defamation of character. Let's go with that. Let's run with this. So, these are the topics that we're going to cover tonight: invasion of privacy, false light, defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And, these are well known claims, that a person can make when, we got somebody on the stream. What's going on, Adrian 314?
What's up? What's up?
How you feel?
Good, good.
So let me just go ahead and give my little spiel, and then I'll let you talk, and we'll just hear your opinion. So just give me a second here. So the first thing that I'm going to just throw out there is invasion of privacy. So now it's kind of tricky because R. Kelly is a public figure, and one of the things is that when you're a public figure, people have the right to basically talk about you because you put yourself out there. You put yourself out there on the limb, and you put your personal business out there. So whenever something happens in the news, it becomes newsworthy. But I think the trick to this is that R. Kelly, even though he's a public figure, I believe he's a public figure, right? I think some of the communications that they got a hold to is communications that is private. And the reason I say is private is because he's communicating with his girlfriends. He's communicating with, Jocelyn Savage. He's communicating with Azrael at the time, who was his girlfriend. And the general public wouldn't necessarily be able to get a hold of that information and to be able to, go through that information. But because Tasha K was involved in, and again, everything in this podcast or this cast is going to be alleged. I don't know Tasha K's involvement in the whole thing, but she somehow was able to get a hold of privileged information that only the Bureau of Prisons should have had. So I am going to go ahead and say, based on that, that is an invasion of privacy, because although, yes, he's locked up in prison, and also, yes, the government is recording his phone calls, he I'm going to argue that he still has some expectation of privacy, because the government is not going to take that information and publish it out on the internet. Now, the lawyer, basically has a totally different opinion on that, and he's posted his opinion on that on his channel, and I'm actually looking forward to hopefully in the future having a debate with him about that. And then we have false light, and basically false light is when you take information about a person and you present it in a negative way, right? It could be negative information, but the way you present it in a negative way, right? So we all know that Tasha K, she drags people. That's what she does, and I'm going to say that he could sue her for false light. And then there's also defamation of character, and of course, defamation of character is only true. You can only sue someone for defamation of character when they're saying things are not true. And defamation of character and false light are closely related, but defamation of character, you can only have a claim when the person is saying something that is not true. Now, I can't remember everything that Tasha K has said, but there's a chance that there could be a defamation of character claim in there. And then we have intentional infliction of emotional distress, and we have unintentional infliction of emotional distress. Basically, the only difference between those two is that one, you intended to do it, and then the other one, you didn't intend to do it. But obviously, this man is stressed out. He's locked up, and he's obviously under a lot of stress. And now you have this person grabbing his personal information, and then she's throwing it out there and basically creating more emotional distress above and beyond what he's already dealing with. So that's my thought on the whole thing. What do you guys think about? So, Smoke, I don't know where Adrian went, but hopefully he'll come back. That's my thought on it, right? So what do you guys think? So Smokey Bell says he was a prisoner, and that information should not have gotten to her alcoholic ass, and then you pass it to the accuser's father, right? So yeah, I agree with that 100%. Even though he's locked up and the government is recording those phone calls are only for the government, right? Because the government is simply recording the phone calls in chance that they can get a hold of information that they can use to prosecute him. They're not they're not going through those phone calls so that they can basically invade his privacy and know his personal details of, what's going on with him and his girlfriends, right? So Priscilla Spencer, she got that. She got that information and she passed it on to Angelo, and he passed it on to Larry, who also blasted it all over the internet. Yeah, so basically the grown little boy could be sued too, but of course, the grown little boy is going to be broke for a long time, unless he finds a way to, make $1.6 million to pay off, that debt. Because I've actually made other videos where I talk about having a judgment against you. And a lot of times when you go and you commit crimes, there's a criminal portion of it where they hit you with a financial judgment. So now you got to pay all this money back, right? So that's what's basically happened to him. He has to make restitution to his victims. So it really wouldn't make much sense to sue him unless you just want to make a statement and you basically just want to sue him just to try to rub it in. But the grown little boy basically don't have no money. And you know what? Tasha K, I honestly wonder what's going on with her lawsuit, because I know that her counterclaim has been dismissed, right? Her counterclaim has been dismissed, and basically she only filed a counterclaim in hopes that she would be able to. And I'm a legend, right? I'm a legend. I don't know. Well, actually, she comes out and she says her counterclaim was bullshit, right? That's what she said on a video that she deleted. But you can find that video on I forget. I can't even pronounce that woman's name. I think it's Mawinya's channel. And she said, the counterclaim was bullshit. She basically said it. But typically people file counterclaims because they know that they did something wrong, but they not necessarily know that you did something wrong, but you want a chance to actually be able to, if you lose, you want to be able to chance to offset some of that money or get some of that money back, right? Um, so that counterclaim is gone now. So the only thing you have left is Cardi B's claim, and that litigation is still going on. Honestly, if I was Tasha K, I would just go and settle, right? I would just go ahead and settle that shit with Cardi B, because you're just burning money. That's all you're doing. You're burning money. The evidence is already on your channel, and it's undeniable. You basically drag. That's what she does. She drags people. But when you do that, you got to be careful not to. Uh, you got to be careful not to make false statements and defamation of character and all that stuff. So the evidence is there. She might win. I don't know. She might beat Cardi B, but I seriously doubt that she would. Timothy Flowers, too much liquor in her system brings information out that shouldn't come out. Well, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that she has a method of getting information. I don't know what her method of getting information is, but I think she intended to let that information come out way before she actually, started drinking. So she starts drinking, from what I can see, when she starts the podcast. But she gets the information and she coordinates that information way before. So yeah, that's what I think. Let me see here. So we got Regina White. A drunk will tell you everything you want to know. And the funny thing is, she says she has lawyers. So I'm trying to figure out, because to me this is all puzzling. Part of it could be from my lack of knowledge. I'm going to admit, like I said, I don't know everything, and this is not really my field of expertise. I'm just on the internet, and I find it interesting law, so I like talking about these things. But on one hand, to me, she just sounds delusional when she hops on the internet, and she appears to not be aware that what she's doing is wrong. So that's one perspective. But on the other perspective, and I'm just taking this perspective today, is that maybe she thinks she's protected. Maybe she thinks she's protected by freedom of speech. And again, I got another video coming out where I'm going to talk about freedom of speech and stolen information or stolen data, right? Smokey Bell, that's his problem. And Big Hips need to pay also. And who cares about her counterclaim anyway? She disrespected that man's right. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, I think he needs to come out and sue. But the problem that R. Kelly has is that he's so knee deep in litigation, and it's really going to be based on his chances of actually coming out of this whole thing successfully. There's like it or not, but there's a situation where he may lose. He may lose up front, and then he'll have to appeal, because sometimes you just get a bogus trial, right? You just get a bogus trial, and you just have to appeal it, and let the appeals court have a chance to give you a fair judgment. So that's a possibility. He could potentially lose a case, and if that happens, then there's less of a chance of him trying to sue Tasha K, because he's going to be so busy with that. And you could be in jail for the next 20 years trying to appeal something, that happened 20 years ago. And then Priscilla Spencer, she's always talking about how good her lawyers are, and so I really think she cares, right? You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Let me see if I can actually find this video, but I saw a part of Tasha K that I never saw before. Have y'all seen this video? I'm not going to play it, but I'll see if I can find it for you, just so you know where it's at. Because you know how it is when you play stuff, you get a copyright violation, and I just really hate dealing with that on my channel. Let's see. How do you pronounce this woman's name? Minya. So if you go to this channel, Tasha K made 2 videos. The first video was directed at the lead attorney, right? The first video was directed at the lead attorney, and it was based on the live that he did, and I thought the live was pretty good, and I thought the lead attorney was very professional, and I didn't hear the lead attorney say anything anything crazy. I didn't hear him say anything out of pocket. And then I thought we had a very intelligent conversation. Everybody came on the panel and gave their little comments. I was actually on the panel and everything, and I thought it went smooth. And then she comes out and she makes this video. I'm gonna see if I can download this video for y'all, just so that I can play it. Just give me a second. I really hope that I don't get a community strike, because I'm so tired of getting those. Let me see here. Let's see. Let me open up I'm gonna go ahead and download this and just go ahead and play it. Give me a second here. So have you guys actually seen this video? Let's see. All right, so let's see if I can get it uploaded. So maybe I'll have to play bits and pieces of it, because I know I can't play the whole thing. I think since how do you pronounce the name? Manwinya is the first to actually cast it, because Tasha K deleted it from her platform.
In school.
Have you guys seen this?
To undergrad, got a law degree, and I'm reduced down to gossiping. I'm gonna do my hand like this because
she's trying to make fun of him. That's how he moves his hands.
This here, I ain't explaining the motherfucking thing. I'm just about to drag a bitch real quick.
So I can't play at all because I'm definitely going to get a community strike. But I'm going to see if I can get some of the juicy parts.
You can go into Pacer. You will go into whatever database you need to go into to pull your receipts so that you can get on YouTube for 5 motherfucking hours talking about a bitch that makes more money than you and the bitch backing you fucking in 2 days.
All right, let's see what else we can squeeze in here.
What does that tell you? I'm telling you, I'm gonna find out who we fucking. And I'm gonna find out what law firm. And I guarantee you, anybody that Google you, since you wanna be a YouTuber, bitch, you wanna be a retired, well, the people have retired you, because if you was in front of a jury waving your motherfucking hand like this, going in circles.
So that's all I'm gonna play, right? So in my personal opinion, this is Tasha K at her worst. You can see, in my opinion, right? And again, everything I'm saying I'm not saying anything based on hate, because I actually go to her channel from time to time and I listen to her, right? But this is Tasha K at her worst, right? Because to me, it looks like this video wasn't well thought out and it wasn't well prepared. And the thing that she says in this video basically makes no sense. But to be honest with you, this is the same thing she's done in most of her videos. She just mixes it in with a little facts, right? So, and she has a drama-based platform. That's what she does, and that's why people like going to her channel, because they know she's going to act a fool whenever she gets hold of a topic or whatever. But when you look at it in the context of the video that the lead attorney did, it's just out of pocket. It's out of pocket big time, because she goes in on him talking about, who he dates, which has nothing to do with her situation, right? And then, she starts talking about how much money she makes versus how much he makes, right? Well, the truth of the matter is that everybody have situations where they have career changes, or they have situations where they go through dry patches, so on and so forth. So I mean, honestly, who cares how much you're making on YouTube, right? Who really cares, right? And it's like you're saying all this silly stuff to basically drag this man and try and embarrass him. But the reality of the situation is he hasn't really done anything wrong to you. He's done absolutely nothing wrong to you. And here you are going back to your old bag of tricks. And she actually, in this video, she threatens to find out what law firm he's at, right? So she can put that information out in the public atmosphere. And then she threatens to find out who he's been dating, so she can go and interview those people and put that out there, so on and so forth. She's threatening to go into his private life. And this is the same type of thing that's got her in trouble, because although the lead attorney has a channel, hey, what's going on, prayer changes, YTF? So although the lead attorney has a YouTube channel, and you could almost argue that he's a public person, the reality of the situation is it's just an internet persona. He hasn't told you who his name is, right? He hasn't told you who he's dating. He hasn't put his public information out there. So she actually took this video down, and then she made another video where she apologizes. And I think the reason that she came out and apologized is because she realized she made a threat, right? She made a threat, and basically the threats that she made were illegal. Well, not necessarily illegal, because what's the way to say it? The threats that she made, she can be sued for. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think the reason she took those videos down is because he could use that, as if she did go out and post his private life on the internet, he could potentially go back and get these videos, and bam, now she's being sued again. And she actually did this on her second channel, the Wino Game podcast, right? So let me see here. So here, let me take this video down. So exactly, it really shows how prejudiced she is, and she's prejudiced. She's getting on there, she's saying all these things about white people. All the man said was that she can go to jail and she must be scared, right? And yeah, it's true. I think she could go to jail, but on the other hand, there's a chance that she won't go to jail, because there is a chance that she could be protected under freedom of speech. I just did some research on that based on something another attorney said. So it can go both ways. It all depends on her involvement of getting the information. I'll give you guys a sneak peek right now. And it boils down to this: how much was she involved in getting that information? Was it a situation where the lady called her up out of the blue and said, hey, I got an R. Kelly package for you. Do you want it? And basically she gives it to her. Then no, she's not going to go to jail. But if it's one of those situations where she's communicating with the lady, and the lady says, for example, something like this, like, well, I got his I got his phone conversations, I got letters that he sent, so on and so forth. What exactly do you want? And then she says, well, give me everything. Then you're involved, because you procured a person to get this information that you're not supposed to have. And therefore you're not protected under freedom of speech because you broke the law, right? So it all boils down to what the facts are, and I'm just going to say up front, I don't know what the facts are. So only the lady that got arrested knows what the facts are, and only Tasha K knows what the facts are, right? Smokey Bell, uh, y'all just being mean now. I don't even feel comfortable reading this. Tell Baldhead to pay Cardi if she makes so much money. Ask her who her husband's dating with a crazy ass. She need to be sued. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cardi B, and if Cardi B is able to basically break her financially, right? She paid for Jessica Parker. How do you know she paid for the story? I mean, I can't say that she paid for the story because I have no evidence. I don't even have any leads, anything like that. The article that I read didn't speculate that she paid for the story, so I can't really say anything. So let's see what we have here. When the Pentagon Papers got leaked in the early 70s, it brought up a very similar issue. I don't think the news outlet that published those were ultimately found criminally liable. And you know what? The story that I'm going to use, well, the case that I'm going to use in the next video, where I'm going to actually try to defend Tasha K under freedom of speech, basically says that. But the problem is that whether or not you were involved in getting the information. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be involved with getting the information and then turn around and claim freedom of speech based on what I read. But again, if it was something that was given to you and you had nothing to do with actually procuring it, you didn't ask for anything specific, you didn't pay for it, you didn't barter for it, then yeah, maybe you're protected under freedom of speech. Let me see here. You could make an argument that the lead attorney is using YouTube in a productive way by making educational videos for using hot topics, right? That's coming from Stephanie Collins. You know what? I'm just going to say this. YouTube provides a lot of opportunity for a lot of people, and people can use their platform to do whatever they want to do. So the lead attorney is basically doing what he wants to do. His agenda is his agenda. I don't know what that agenda is, but that's his business. So it's not for me to come out and try to drag him. It's not for Tasha K to come out and drag him. So I don't really understand, what she was trying to accomplish with that hate video, because like I said, all he did was come out and he basically just said there's a possibility she could go to jail, and that's it. And she went fucking bananas over that shit. Let's see. Her and Shara Wendy needs to stay out of the other people's business and take care of her home life with her husband and her child. That's coming from Smokey Bell. Who is Shara Wendy? I never heard of Shara Wendy. Is that a typo? Are you talking about Wendy Williams? So that's it. I didn't really intend to be on here long. I just wanted to, just kind of have a quick live stream and just, talk about whether or not, R. Kelly should basically, or if R. Kelly can sue her. And, so I think he can, right? But, the problem with R. Kelly's situation is that he's so knee deep in litigation that I don't think that he would even have the time to basically sue, right? Hey, what's going on? Respect my opinion. Yeah, I mean, so I guess for the most part, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with all this. But I do want to admit that I could be wrong on whether or not she could go to jail, because the lawyer said is that she's pretty much considered journalism, because journalism these days are basically YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, right? So the term journalism, in my opinion, is probably going to be forever changed because people are paying more attention, to these YouTube streets than they're paying attention to CNN these days, right? Um, why you say that, Misbehaving? Hop on and tell me why you say that, Misbehaving. You're welcome to join. Anybody, I mean everybody. Basically, if you want to join and voice your opinion, you're welcome to join. Otherwise, I'm probably going to end the podcast pretty soon here. If you want to hop on and have a conversation, definitely hop on. It doesn't take that much effort to download StreamYard. So I'm glad she's out there doing her thing, however controversial she is. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Man, I do enjoy some of her content. Sometimes when I want to, hear a different perspective on something that I'm about to make a video on, I will go to her page, just like I go to everybody's page, right? And just hear what they got, have to say. Hip Hop News is another platform that I go to, that I check out. I don't necessarily always agree. I actually, more than likely, I don't agree with a lot of those things a lot of those people are saying, but I'll go to their channel and check them out. I'm sure if she paid for the information, Tasha would have paid through a third party or some way that can't be traced back to her. So, Regina White, how is that possible? We're talking about the federal government, right? And the federal government has all types of resources. And just to remind you, the government at one point in time was basically put on blast, right, by WikiLeaks and Edward Snowden, right? They found out that the government was monitoring phone calls and things of that nature. So Edward Snowden basically got that information. He posted it on WikiLeaks. And then because he did that, right, Edward Snowden worked for the CIA or one of those government agencies, and he saw what the government was doing. So he took that he stole the information. And it's kind of similar to what's going on here. So he stole the information and then he posted it on WikiLeaks. And then he basically he left the country, right? And at the same time, the federal government tried to go after WikiLeaks for basically publishing the information. So it's a little bit similar, but it's a little different. But there is a specific case, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, where I show you that, how Tasha K could basically, walk based on that, so, it basically all depends, right? Yeah, the best resource is that a former BOP employee, which they probably have. Yeah. Yeah, so in my opinion on that is that I think that, yeah, the government has unlimited access to resources, trust me. For example, Tori Love, yeah, I'm chatting late night. Why don't you hop on and join me? Okay, so with cell phones, a lot of people don't know, but cell phones you don't have secure communications with cell phones unless you have an iPhone. iPhones are probably one of the only devices that has encrypted communications. But I believe, don't quote me on this. If anyone knows, you can basically put it in the chat here. iPhones have encryption when you're talking to another person who has an iPhone. But if a person has an Android, there's no way that they can encrypt messages, right? So if Tasha K has an iPhone and the Bureau of Prisons lady has an iPhone, the government probably doesn't have direct access to the communications between Tasha K and or a third party. But what's going to happen is that the government is going to get a search warrant and they're going to walk over to Apple's office and they're going to say, give me everything you got on this Bureau of Prisons lady and give me everything you got on Tasha K. And Apple is just going to say, here you go. Right. So there's no way you're going to be able to hide communications through a third party unless you're really, really smart and you got like a burner phone and you throw that phone away once you extract the information. Right. That's the only way that she probably could be protected, but there's even ways to track stuff like that as well, right? And then Misbehaving says Snowden worked for NASA. He's still wanted by the U.S. government. if he comes back here, he's going to prison unless they kill him. Yeah, Snowden basically is just kind of having a shitty life right now because, like I said, he ran off to Russia and he's trapped over there and he can't come back to the U.S. So things aren't looking good, right? So Snowden in this, if you wanted to make an analogy, I would say the Bureau of Prisons lady is Snowden, and Tasha K would be comparable to Wiki Assange. I'm not even pronouncing. What's the guy's name? The guy who basically owns WikiLeaks. That's what Tasha K would be compared to, because she has the media outlet where she distributed the information. Julia Assange, that's his name. Let's see here. Why is this just coming out to the front when they already had this? That's a good question. All I can do is speculate. And all I can do, I can't even really speculate. I can just give you conspiracy theories. And one of the conspiracy theories out there is that the government knows that they're losing their case and they need a scapegoat. So they're going to blame Tasha K. But that's a conspiracy theory. I have no proof, no evidence that that's what's going on. That's just my own little conspiracy theory, right? So it looks like Tory Love is going to hop on. Give me a few. I'm headed home. I'll try to wait as long as I can, Tory Love. And then, unless the BOP employee hands them her phone. Well, I think the Bureau of Prisons lady is cooperating, right? Because in my video, I read statutes that basically can be used to indict a person. There's even more internal policies and codes and procedures that the Bureau of Prison lady has to follow. And if she violates those, then she can receive an even stricter, punishment. So I honestly believe that the way everything lined up is that, this is my theory, right? I have no evidence, but I think what happened is that somebody reported it. And then once it was reported, like the lead attorney said, when you're working for the government, they have computer systems, and the government has IT security, and the IT security has logs of when people are logging in and they're accessing information. And they saw that, she accessed information 150 times and she didn't have any reason to access it. And then they said, look, we got you. So, we can do this the easy way or the hard way, but we got you. And I'm pretty sure the Bureau of Prison lady said, let's do it the easy way. What do you want to know? And they probably said, well, I want you to testify for Tasha K and I want you to retire. Right? I think that's what's happening. So I believe now we're at a place where they have the Bureau of Prisons lady, and the Bureau of Prison lady is cooperating in hopes that she'll get a plea deal. And now they are just combing through all the information, and they're getting subpoenas for phone records and subpoenas for computer records and all this other type of stuff. They may not even tell Tasha K that she's being subpoenaed, right? Because there's some subpoenas you can get without the target knowing that they have a subpoena for your stuff, right? So I think they're just doing an investigation. They're not rushing. They don't have any reason to rush. Why should they rush? You know what I mean? They're gonna wake up in the morning at the same time they wake up every day. They're gonna go to work the same time they go to work every day, and they're gonna take their sweet time. They're gonna comb through all the evidence, and then after that, they're gonna make a decision whether or not to give her a plea deal, or whether or not they're going to basically try to prosecute her or indict her, or they just may let her go. Of course, another theory out there, conspiracy theory, is that Tasha K is actually a government agent, right? And this is just 100% wild theory. I'm not alleging that Tasha K is a government agent, and I have no evidence that she is, but it's an interesting theory, right? Because they're saying that when you look at the grown little boy and you look at Tasha K, they were actually, in my opinion, and this is based on fact, in my opinion, Pico Benz. Yeah, she said she was subpoenaed in that video and she got out of it. But you know what, Pico Benz, you can hop on and talk if you want to. But uh, I believe that what happened is that they just simply subpoenaed her prior to them getting all this information. So now that they have all this information, because I think the first time they subpoenaed her, they wanted her to testify in court. And she was smart enough to get out of that. But now, and that's what she says. Like when you watch this video right here, when you watch this
Can't
video,
articulate a fucking sentence.
no, it's not that video. It's actually the other one. When you watch the other video, she'll say, you know, I was subpoenaed, but she says something along the lines, why should I have to testify? I'm just some person who's reporting the news. So I think they subpoenaed her based on the the intent to basically have her talk about what she found out and to basically participate in the trial. But now, I think you're going to see a different type of subpoena, and that subpoena is going to be for a criminal indictment, right? You know, so that's what I think is going on. Pico Benz, what's going on, man? What do you
Not
think
a
about
whole
this?
lot, man. I'm just here listening to your commentary. Um, Tasha K's situation is iffy, man, because she was boastful about how she has all those R. Kelly release emails and stuff. And
Really?
obviously, yeah, she was on one of her Wino's program where she was saying she was sitting there watching Joycelyn email R. Kelly back and forth and stuff like that.
Mm,
Obviously, it was that BOP agent that was giving her same information.
right.
So I don't know how all this is gonna play out with this case currently, but there are so many moving parts to this case. I really don't see how the brother can get a fair trial.
Well, honestly, I'm surprised they're even continuing with the trial. I think they actually should dismiss the trial. And people are saying, you know, how does Tasha K's involvement in this allow for a mistrial? And in my opinion, I think, you know, Tasha K actually could be responsible for influencing a witness, right? So I don't know. And the fact that, you know, she actually used information, stolen information, to influence a witness means that at the very least, Azrael's testimony should be thrown out. At the very least. But go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, man, when it comes down to the Israel situation, because even when you listen to the cross examination, they caught her in so many lies, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
And one particular YouTuber who was been in the court on a daily is saying how the judge is quick to, you know, basically grant the prosecutors whatever they want. Like they have a leeway with the judge, which the defense is like a uphill task every time. You know, she's more quick to reprimand the defense than, the prosecution. So I am not there, but from what this person is saying, being there every day, if that is so, man, all that plays into it. I think, this is like a kangaroo court system.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But you know, I'll say that she has reprimanded she's reprimanded. What's that one attorney's name? When she called the young ladies girls, and she said, "Look, they're not girls; they're grown women." Right? You know, so it's unfortunate that she had to reprimand R. Kelly's lawyers, but you know, to me, that was a little suspect. But I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. That what's her name? Nicole Blank Becker.
Yeah, that's her. That's her.
But she, to me, is the weakest of the defense, the weakest link in the defense, because from what I have read, sometimes she's even in her open statement, she was all over the place. She was never conclusive. She was never concise. She was like scratching here and there. You
Yeah,
know.
you know what? I heard that too, right? I heard that too, but the information I got that information from the media, and you got to be careful when you get information from the media because, from what I can see, they're just one sided. You know, everybody wants R. Kelly to go down, so when they report the information, they report it in the most devastating manner. Like, yeah, we heard witness testified. He did this and that, but they don't talk about how the cross examining basically broke down some of those. Some of the testimony that the witness had. So it's just kind of unbalanced. So
But
I
I don't know if I am the only one seeing this, but the mainstream media is kind of changing now. They're kind of moving more balanced because I'm seeing mainstream media where they're pulling up uh, situation where they reach out for uh, defense attorney to analyze the case, and most of it is just fair commentary. I can't say that they are brutal now like they were like 5 6 months ago.
what did you see? I saw one balanced article, and I think I saw a balanced article from CNN, and that's where who was testifying. That's where, and I couldn't even believe I actually had this one witness all wrong. So the one witness that alleged that it was a guy, and he alleged that R. Kelly abused him. Let's avoid those trigger words like Max and all that other type of stuff. But there's a one guy who said R. Kelly abused. I'm gonna mute you for a second because you got a background mic. But there's a one witness that said R. Kelly abused him, and I actually thought that was going to be a female, the bisexual female. And what is it? What's her name? The one bisexual female is who I thought it was, but it turned out to actually be a guy. And I think some people are saying it was Richard Arline Jr. And he says he's abused by R. Kelly. And I thought that CNN had a very balanced article because they highlighted the fact that he got a plea deal, or he was hoping for a plea deal. So he's giving his testimony after he pled guilty, and he's hoping for a plea deal. So I thought that was balanced. Did you see the article by chance?
No, I did not see that article, but from what I've gathered from his time being on the stand, our line whole thing should be thrown out because remember, this is the guy who took it upon himself to bribe a federal witness. And what was his motivation for doing so? You said now that you are a victim of the said man that you were trying to help. So how does that play on the public's mind?
Right. Of course. Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think R. Kelly will ever sue Tasha K?
Well, I think that's a small fish to fry. What he needs to do is to stay on top of this current situation because remember, after he finished here in New York, he has two in Illinois, and then Minnesota is awaiting as well. So as soon as he can brush off the criminal elements of this, then he can probably go home, eat some steaks, and think about his next movement. But to go after Tasha K right now, that's really small fish to fry.
Right. No, I agree, and that's what I said early on. That
Only thing I could hope for is that this Tasha K situation kind of plays in a way where they say, "Listen, this is a breach and the part of justice, and we can't go further with this. So let's move to dismiss."
Right. And I think I'm surprised that his lawyer didn't file a motion to dismiss right away. To be honest with you, like once that story hit, I've watched other videos, and one guy that I go to, one channel I go to from time to time to get a different perspective is the lawyer, right? And he essentially said that, R. Kelly wouldn't be able to sue because the information that has been presented wasn't private information. I disagree with that, right? I think that, and I said this before you came, even though the prison is tapping his phone calls, they're not going to use his private conversations to basically, they're not tapping his phone calls for the sake of distributing his private information to the general public. They're tapping his phone calls because they want to get some information they can use in the case. And then, the lawyer, also said that R. Kelly's breach in his personal affairs, or his what's the word I'm looking for? The stolen information doesn't impact this case, and I kind of disagree with that. And basically, I'm going to play this video or some of it, and you'll see why. So this is a video from Malicious Conspiracy. I'm not going to play all of it because I don't want to get a copyright breach. But basically, he said Tasha K admits the criminals Clary and Savage's obtain. Have you seen this video, Pico?
Yes, I have seen it. I'm well aware of this situation.
Right. So I'll just play it in case someone else hasn't seen it. But he says Tasha K admits the criminals Clary and the Savages obtained illegal records and information she received illegally from the prison's officer. Right. Let me see if I can get to this without playing too much of it.
Communicate with both sets of parents. Tim and his wife, Timothy Savage, and his wife, as well as Angelo and his wife. Okay, but Angelo knows a lot of the shit. Tim doesn't. This is real shit. Okay, he knows a lot of the shit before I bring it to him, but some stuff he doesn't, and I give it to him, and he's like, okay.
So she just admitted. So I think when the lawyer, made his commentary, he wasn't aware. See, the thing about lawyers who are experts at the law coming into the situation is that they don't have all the facts and they don't have all the information. And here you just heard Tasha K say that, she's giving this guy information. And this is the same woman who has illegal information. So how are you claiming that she didn't impact the trial? How are you claiming that she's not? I don't know if we can call it witness tampering, but she admitted giving Angelo Clary privy information, right? So we can't necessarily call it witness tampering because I guess we probably could, because Azriel probably could have been a witness for R. Kelly, right? But in my personal opinion, she was a part of flipping Azriel, right? She was a part of, and this is my opinion, this is my allegation. I have no evidence, right, other than, what I'm showing here in her own words. But, basically, Azriel, there could have been a situation where Azriel would have testified for R. Kelly instead, on R. Kelly's behalf. And she wasn't a very good witness for the government anyway. So these are things that, lawyers don't know when they just comment on the video versus people who've been following the case for a long time. And I actually tried to explain some of this to the lead attorney yesterday. So, and then it goes, Tasha K admits giving Angelo Clary personal emails between R. Kelly and Jocelyn to show it to Azriel to flip on him, right? Azriel got extremely jealous and rage that R. Kelly is calling Jocelyn Cookie and saying he loves her. So, and this I can believe because I speculated in one of my videos that the reason Azriel flipped is because she couldn't be, what's the word I want to use? She couldn't be that one, right? Because there was a time when she wanted to, because I think she was first on the visiting list, and then she wanted to stay on the visiting list, and basically, and this is my allegation, she wanted to stay on the visiting list and push Jocelyn out. And because R. Kelly didn't let her do that, that was part, and along with all this other stuff, that's part of the reason she flipped. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think that she wanted to push her out totally. I think what she wanted was an extra 3 months on the list to say she has this idea, that she wanted to run by him. She wanted to approve. She wanted him to approve these ideas. And obviously she wanted money to fund those ideas. And when he wasn't agreeing with such term, that's when she said, okay, you're not going to do that for me, so I'm not going to stay. That's what I gather from that situation.
So Tony is a critical thinker. She says she disagrees with that whole theory because she thinks Azriel was a setup from the very beginning. Why do you say that, critical thinker? And then there's more to this video. 1 second here. I don't know.
Okay, and I got some information I'm gonna show you in just a second to corroborate this. Okay, and so Azrael doesn't know. Well, now she does. Okay, her dad kind of gave her the information that he gave her to let her see for herself, but she's still having a hard time believing it because R. Kelly talked so much shit about Joycelyn. So she can't believe that he loves her. So he calls both of them Cookie, but Azrael didn't know that he called Joycelyn Cookie.
I'm gonna just stop playing it right there. So yeah, so basically, I think that Tasha K, and this is my opinion, right? I think Tasha K involved herself in the middle of this case. I like to hear criticals thinking theory on how she was a plant from the beginning, right? If you could join Critical Thinker, we'd love to have you on to hear what your thoughts are. But I honestly think that Azriel was on the fence and she was flipped.
Well, if you follow the testimony that Azrael gave, you know, her parent is the one that kind of put her in the situation because her mother was jumping on the phone, acting like she was Azrael, texting R. Kelly, and they asked R. Kelly for various opportunity. One to be a bus driver, two to be a lighting engineer, and at the same time they were pushing their daughter to be with him. In what capacity, I don't know. But when you drive your young daughter 6 hours to go see a man, that is like, giving a whale a fish, basically.
Yeah, so I've heard that allegation as well. That I think was it if I can remember correctly, I think Angelo wanted to basically do some type of work for R. Kelly. He turned him down, and her mom wanted to do some work, and he turned her down. And they're just saying that this is all about money. I mean, it's obvious that it's all about money, right? Stephanie Collins, she's been very critical of Azrael more recently than when she was first started on the story. Her opinions of these witnesses has dramatically changed over the course of her coverage. And again, I think the reason her story has changed, and this is just my allegation, I don't have any proof or evidence. I think that she realized that she fucked up basically, and so now she's trying to double back and try to fix it, but it's really too late because the damage is already done.
Yeah, but you see, when you look on the path of Azrael, there is nothing there really to boost the prosecutor side of this case because she's already cross-examined, and they have found her in several lies. And when you go back,
isn't she the one witness that the judge said was inconsistent?
yes. But when you even go back further, even before this trial has begun, you heard her father out here telling one blogger that if R. Kelly just gave her a one song deal and she recorded that one song, then he could have basically just have at her,
Right. Yeah, I mean, so let me ask you a question. So I am actually going through the transcripts. And have you heard the testimony of Azrael?
Yes, I've heard bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So there's one point in the transcripts where allegedly R. Kelly makes a promise that, if she basically have sex with him, he'll take care of her for life. And my personal opinion on that is that if R. Kelly loses, she can then, so there's a portion where if a defendant loses, the government can come and take all of their assets. But a third party can come in and essentially say, well, hey, I have a right to some of that money, and you have to give some of that money to me. It's part of the post-conviction process. So what do you think of, are you familiar with that, that alleged promise by R. Kelly to Azrael?
That's the first time I'm hearing that. But a promise is a promise, and a promise is not something that is set in stone. So if he didn't write this like in a contractual agreement, then it's null and void. It's not. It's not even you know prosecutable or admissible anywhere. So
Mm,
I can tell you now, hey, I'm gonna promise you my house. But if I verbally said that to you, the same way I verbally state that to you, I can verbally state, hey, I'm not gonna give you my house. You get what I mean? It's not in writing, so it's not set in stone.
I don't know about that. So I think the problem with what you just said is that you say, okay, I'm going to give you my house, but it wouldn't be an agreement if I didn't give you anything in return. So if you say, well, look, if you loan me, this, $20,000, I'll give you my house, 10 years down the line, and I give you the $20,000, then that's basically a contract, is an agreement. So the only question is,
Because I can come back. I say that is why we need things in writing, and that is you can say that verbatim, but I can come back and say when push come to shove, I can come back and say no, that wasn't why you give me that 20,000. You give me that 20,000 because X Y Z. So you see, verbal argument can change, and that is why you need things in written agreement.
you're right, right. So you know what? So you're right. Um, but it can go. So in Illinois, it can go either way. So there's something in Illinois called the statute of frauds, and there's also, so that basically is based off a European law called statute of frauds, and it's based on what you just said. If it's not in writing, any promises made beyond a year has to be in writing. If it's not in writing, then it's not enforceable. But there's some cases where a person didn't have it in writing, but there was an exchange, meaning one person gave something up and the other person didn't receive anything, right? I think I read some article where a person bought a car based on a verbal agreement. The guy basically gives the other person the initial funds, and then he just stopped paying. And I think what did it for him is that he still had possession of the car. So it's going to be hard to argue. So you're probably right. So maybe that wouldn't apply in Azrael's case because it's not in writing, and she can't prove anything. So yeah, you're probably right. So Keisha, I'm pissed off with you, non-lawyer, because you said the grown little boy didn't do anything in this case. Everyone knows that he did. In fact, he made excuses for it. No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said that his plea deal wasn't based off of his cooperation in R. Kelly's case. And the reason I said that is because when I looked at his plea deal, I have a video where I go through all the documents I could find on a grown little boy. And I don't remember seeing anything in that plea deal, unless I just didn't pay attention, that said that he's going to get time off for helping in another investigation. I think everything I read in the plea deal was that he was going to cooperate with the investigation in his criminal trial. But there could be other documents out there, right? That very well could be the case that he cooperated with in the R. Kelly investigation. Because of that, they gave him time off. I mean, I could be wrong. Just show me the plea deal. You know what I mean? Or I think she was saying that infamous Sylvia, has that information on her channel. So maybe I'll just ask infamous Sylvia the next time I talk to her, right? And then Smokey Bell, he should have sent all those homeless people out of his house. Who cares where they went, as long as they were on the other side of the fence. That was her say, right? Honestly. So here's my take on R. Kelly's situation, right? And I'm just going to kind of like kick aside the allegations of messing around with underage women, because that's only part of it, right? I think another part of this thing is that you just have disgruntled girlfriends. I think that's really the bulk of this situation, because there's a 2008 child that's been beat, and now they're trying to surmount that on top of these new allegations. And you can clearly see in the transcript that what's her name, Azrael, lied. You can clearly see in the transcripts Geronda Pace lied, right? So if you're sitting in front of if the jury is down to earth, there's no way in hell they're going to find him guilty for that stuff, right? So once you throw that out, what do you actually have? You just have, these disgruntled girlfriends. And I think as it comes to these disgruntled girlfriends, I think he should have had an agreement with them, and he should have got it in writing up front. And the bulk of that agreement should have been like, look, I'm the man, I'm paying your bills, you do what I say, and that's it, right? And that may sound crazy to a lot of people, but when you're a superstar like that, you don't want to be putting yourself at the mercy of women that you're casually dating or that you're in a relationship with. I'm not saying that all men should have relationships with people where they control everything. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying R. Kelly is a type of person, in my opinion, right? He's a celebrity. He has lots of money, and he's going to want to be in control of his situation. And just because he's out having fun doesn't mean that he has to give up that control because he's making tons of money. Now, a lot of people may disagree with this, and it's not really a male thing. It's not a female thing. If it was a female who's making, tons of money, she would want to basically limit what happens in her relationship because you don't want to get sued. You don't want to be going back and forth to court and being sued over silly stuff, right?
But
so I think go ahead.
But that's the big factor though. So a man of his stature always gonna have to have a controlled environment. That's how I think. So you can have he got this appetite for all these female energy to be around him. So the fact that he tried to control them by saying, hey, we don't need you all converging and having talks about what I did with you or with you or with you, is to kind of curtail the situation where theories and all these scenarios can form, where people can get the idea like they have now to come together with a common story to get him for all he is worth. And I think that's why he tried to form that culture of a controlled environment where you stay to your room, you move when if you need to move, then you ask question, because you have to understand there is business coming in and how there is deal that
I think that's the real reason for controlling the movement about the premises is business, right? You're constantly doing business and you want to date, but you're a workaholic. And I think he made a couple of mistakes, right? The saying, don't shit where you eat.
yeah.
I think that's the first mistake. He should have just arranged to see his dates in a separate venue from where he was working. But because he made that mistake, I think what he tried to do was, like you said, limit the possible exposure that they could have to his personal affairs by saying, "Hey, I'm about to meet some business people in the living room. Just stay in this room, and once I'm done with this business deal, I'll come and holler at you." That's how I take this, right? That's how I take it. I think he, just did a bad job at separating business from pleasure, and
Right.
that's part of what
I
got
agree
him
with that.
in trouble.
Yep.
Uh, Nisimo fighting for justice. Hello, Mr. My brother Robert Sylvester Kelly. So all charges should and will be dropped. The government need to charge for trying to charge an innocent man. Yeah, let's pray that's what's going to happen. So let me ask you a question, Pico Benz. You think he's going to beat it?
Man, I tell you, I don't know what to think, because one of the thing is that all the witnesses that they have gathered so far, they are somewhat incredible. Okay.
Right.
And then one of the thing is that the story is constant about the control. So I don't know how the jury will look at that, because they are there to prove racketeering and manhunt. But all these little minute details might just influence the jury in another way.
Right.
You see?
So here's the thing. I'm going to say this. So I said this a couple of times, but I don't think people caught on. A jury has an ability called nullification. I think that's what it's called. And that's where they can say, okay, well, he's guilty. So what? We don't care. We're still going to set him free. The jury can actually do that. Right.
Right.
So I think when it comes down to the underage, I think the lead attorney is right. Some states have something called strict liability, whereas they don't care if the person lied about their age, uh, so long as you were with them, you're guilty, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. Some states actually have that law, but you have other states that, like Illinois, that has a mistake of age defense, and that's basically saying, hey, she told me she was 17, she was at my adult concert. Her mother told me, she told me she was 18, she was at an adult concert. Her mother told me she was 18. So, I mean, how was I to know, right? She never showed me ID. And I do know she showed the ID to the police officer when they came to the hotel room, but the police officer didn't say anything, so how was I to know, right? And it's really unfair. You know what I mean? It's really, really, really unfair. So I think, like you said, a jury is going to listen to that. And if the jury is down to earth, they are going to basically not convict him on that. And I think, honestly, once you strip out the underage allegations, they really don't have anything. They really don't have anything, because here's this. One of the arguments that people are making, and I think I actually posted a video of an argument that a young lady said. She basically said that R. Kelly has an enterprise, but it's not a criminal enterprise. And if you think about it, a criminal enterprise usually makes money off of criminal activity.
Activities, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm either getting drugs from you, Pico Benz, and you're supplying me with the drugs, and then I sell the drugs, or you are killing my competition. I say, Pico Benz, these guys messing with our money. Go and handle that, and you go out and kill them, and therefore we prosper because of that, right?
Right.
R. Kelly isn't making money because he's having sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who's in money?
You know what I mean? He's not making money off of shooting videos.
Right.
So how is it a criminal enterprise? It just doesn't make sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
So one of the things that I hear coming up next week, there is a video that they're supposed to show to the jury.
Oh yeah.
And that to me kind of concerning, because we don't know at this point what is on that video, and all we can do is just hope that is not something that is gonna be damning to his his chances.
I can take a guess. Like, I've never heard about this video. This is the first time I'm hearing it, but I can take a guess of what's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is on it?
Well, so I read the testimony of Azriel, and I'm trying to get through that. And I'm about in the third video in the series. Mm-hmm. And she testified several times that he recorded them while they were having, sex. And things like that are going to be a problem. I'm not going to lie to you. This is me coming out telling you the absolute truth. And I've been holding out, from saying stuff like this. It's going to be a problem, because even in Illinois, the legal age in Illinois for having sex, believe it or not, is going to be 17.
Right.
But in order to take a picture, a naked picture of somebody, or to videotape them, that person would have to be, I want to say, 21. So I believe there's going to be a similar situation with that in Florida. And because that exists in Florida, that's going to impact the Mann Act, right? So
Well,
that could be a problem. And I think that's what they're going to show. If I
well,
had
I
to
think
guess,
if I'm not mistaken, that video was brought into mention during the Ailey Calhoun testimony. So I think it might be of Ailey Calhoun.
Hmm, that's going to be interesting. Here, so we got Skylife on Skylife. What do you think? Do you think R. Kelly should sue Tasha K? What do you think about this whole thing in general?
Hi, this is my first time on your channel.
Welcome.
But
I'm not really good with doing these broadcast, these live casts, so
no, you
I'm trying to
good.
get into it. But go ahead. What do you think about all this?
I believe that I'm gonna answer a question first, and then I want to say something else.
Okay.
But I believe he should sue her. But however, the point that you made that he has his pending cases coming up. So of course he has to go through the process of fighting these cases. Then he needs to double back and sue all these people, not only Tasha K, Lifetime, and any of these other broadcasters, media that smeared his name and supported and put out any of this information. But he has
Right.
to do things and has to be prioritized. And the other thing I wanted to say was you mentioned that somebody said that the emails that were leaked were not protected information or not confidential. That is so incorrect. I have family members that have worked, they actually do work for the federal government now and other government entities. And on the email, it'll actually tell you that this information is confidential. It's only intended for the addressee. If you get this information, make sure you destroy it and yada, yada, yada. And it tells
Right.
you can't copy it, you can't use it. Even the employees have to be careful how they use the information, and they're the addressee on the information. So people have to understand that's protected confidential information. But not only that, that is a breach of the entity that is holding Kels in incarceration.
Right.
I mean, that's major.
Right.
That's
Now,
major.
I'm not going to lie to you. What I found out a little bit later, actually around 4 or 5 this afternoon, I was on Minwinya's channel, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, and she has a video where she's grabbed some information from the lawyer, which is another YouTube personality.
Okay.
And he's actually a lawyer. And he basically said that Tasha K could be protected under freedom of speech because she's a journalist. Now, I'm actually going to work on a video that I'm going to release later where I'm going to get into all that, but I actually have a third video coming up in that series. So I'm going to release that first. But there is a chance. It all boils down. It all boils down to how she got the information, right? One of the things people are thinking is that so long as she didn't pay for it, she's good. I don't agree with that because
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I kind of interrupted you, but
No, go ahead.
okay, I totally disagree because, and I'm gonna wait till you drop the information because how do you have the right to leak confidential information? So that's basically saying if I find some information about McDonald's Corporation, their recipe, I can leak it because I found it. I mean, come on, you have to know that this stuff is legally protected and bound. And you can't just grab people's corporate information. This is the government's information, and you can't just share it like that. But I'm gonna wait to see what you find out. But I highly doubt that you could just share it because you find it or you get a hold of it.
Well, I'll go ahead and give you a sneak peek right now. So this is what it is. You're right. So the government has laws and statutes for intercepting wired communication.
Correct.
And I think what it's going to boil down to is what type of communication was there between Tasha K and the government employee. I think that's what it's going to boil down to. Is this a situation where the government employee reached out to Tasha and said, well, hey, I can get you XYZ. And then she goes on to log, because she logged on the system 150 times. And she goes on to log on in the system and she goes, where I can get his inmate records. I can get his phone conversation. I can get, yada, yada, yada. What is it that you want? And then Tasha K, theoretically, right? This is just a theory, right? I don't know what happened between those two. I need to throw that out there, right? And let's just pretend that Tasha K says, well, I want all of it. Where in that situation, she's going to be liable. No question about it. But if it's a situation where Tasha K just has a method for people to basically give her information, right? Maybe if you have information, send it to my mailbox. And this Department of Justice person just says, well, hey, here's all R. Kelly information. She drops it into the mailbox. Then she could be protected by freedom of speech because she wasn't in. The bottom line is that the question is whether or not she was involved in the procurement of the information. And if she was involved in the procurement of the information by trying to ask for specific information or any other type of way, then she's liable. But if it's a situation where it's just out of the blue and I'm like, Skylife, here's some information and you're a journalist, then you could probably get away with it. So it all depends, so but I'm going to give you some facts behind that. And there's some inconsistency in that argument too. And I'm going to give you that as well. But the one example or close example is not really close is that you look at Edward Snowden, who worked for NSA, somebody just said, and he realizes the government is basically intercepting phone records of citizens in other countries and so on and so forth. So he takes this information, he puts it on WikiLeaks. So, of course, he knows what he's done is wrong. So he has to leave the country. And they even tried to go after WikiLeaks with everything they have to try to get him, right? But the roadblock there is that, Julia Assange, who is the owner of WikiLeaks, is actually in another country. Right. So there's, I guess, barriers keeping them from getting a hold of, the guy or whatever. So Tasha K lives in the United States. Unless she just jumps up and leave and go to Russia, then, and I know she ain't going no damn Russia, so we'll see. I mean, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be running back and forth to court over some silly nonsense like this. That's,
right. Well, let me explain my point like this. The lady, like you said, was not authorized to access the information. Let's say that again.
For
she was not authorized. Okay, so when you work for any type of government entity, state, federal, county, you have to take ethics tests. You have to take the HIPAA test. There's a such thing as protected health information, but there's also such thing as protected information. So this information, the fact that this lady knew she was getting this information, well, let's not even say that. Let's just say the fact that this lady got it and she didn't have access to it. So that's already the breach. So now it's like the tangle web we weave. Where did it go to? You see what I'm saying? So whoever catches on to it and, and gets access to it is part of that web.
Oh, of course.
That's just it.
Right. No, for sure. Like I said, it all depends on what. Hey, Tori Love, come back on. I want to hear your thoughts on this, and I'm just going to mute everybody, and you'll be the only person that's talking. But you got to come back on, Tori Love. No, you're cool, Skylife. We're going to try to get Tori Love back on here.
Hey, Tori.
He's not on yet. 1 second. Give me a second. Yeah, so it's going to boil down to the communication between Tasha K and the Bureau of Prisons lady. And they're going to get that information. Believe me, either, and I don't know if you were here earlier, but I think the Bureau of Prisons lady has already flipped, so she's going to give it up like nobody's
she has
business.
to, because when you sign on with any type of government or any contract to a government, you fall under the same ethical code, and you have to. When the OEIG comes in to ask questions, you have to cooperate. It's not a question of whether you want to; you have to. And she's probably going to also lose her pension.
Right. All right. So let me mute everybody.
Okay.
Tori Love, what do you think about about R. Kelly suing Tasha K and about this whole mess in general? I'm gonna mute everybody so you can talk. Oh, it looks
I
like
think that I think that he should sue her because first of all, she is one of the main reasons why he's in the situation that he's in. Now, from now, I listened to the other lawyers earlier today, and he said that it's like it's basically like up in the air. You understand?
who is that? The lawyer, you know,
Yeah, the not the guy that she was feuding with, the other guy that
uh,
came on her toilet.
the Caucasian guy, right?
Yeah, yeah, him. So it's basically like it's really up in the air. Yeah, but the other guy said that she could get in trouble. The one that she was upset with. First of all, you took government information and you got a hold to it. But we have to find out if she paid for it, which I feel like somebody else is behind it as well. One of the parents. That's my thought and my theory on it.
Well, she did. She did say on one of her podcasts that she gave the information to Angela Clary, so on and so forth. She did admit to distributing the information to the parents of the alleged victims. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Honestly, I think she could walk. I'm not going to lie to you. After I did some research, I did some reading, I did find that there is a case, several cases where journalists are basically protected under freedom of speech. Looks like we have another person. Sandra, welcome to the channel. What's your opinion on all this? Do you think that
So you think she can walk with federal documents?
it's tricky? I think it's gonna boil down to whether or not she was involved. If she was handpicking the information, or if she was giving instructions on what she wanted, or if she was in communication.
Okay. May I interject here?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
So, if you watch her video in its entirety, she already told you that she already talked to the federal government and she's not going to jail, and the BOP lady is not going to jail. So, pretty much, she's telling you her lawyers have it handled.
You believe that?
Hey, you never know, man. I mean, she looked quite composed when she was talking, so I don't know. I just gotta wait and see.
I
But
mean, I think
she
she's.
came out, but
I personally believe that she to know Tasha K, and you can't take everything that Tasha K says when I'm speaking. I'm meaning, especially as angry as she was with the Savages and the Clarys. If you go back to that, and she said she's not going to stop until she makes sure she make them pay for what they did to her. So I believe in my heart that she was throwing a subliminal to the public when she made the statement, because remember, she said, I have his medical records and I gave them to you. She knew what she was saying, but I believe whoever that person that worked for the MCC was in communication with Mr. Clary, and she was throwing it off to let us know, let him know that I've already talked to these people, so you going down.
Well, I never heard about medical records. It's really serious if she had his medical records.
Yeah, and it was everything. It was his medical records. It was his it was everything.
Right.
Everything about, yeah, everything. She had everything.
Well, for the record, I don't know what was actually in the records, so I can't really speak to that. But I guess if you're saying it was, I mean, I don't know. Like, did you hear her say, like, how do you know
Because
had the
she
medical?
spoke about the medical records, and when she was on one, if you go back to some of her lives, but I think she's transferred them over to her
Other channel.
yeah. And so she stated about his medical. I know what's going on with him, and she said R. Kelly is going to walk. I'm telling y'all, he's gonna walk. Only thing that I am going to hold him accountable for is the herpes. Other than that, he's gonna walk.
Yeah. So I don't know. So going back to Pico Benz, people when they're under a lot of pressure, it's like they feel. And I'm not saying that Tasha K's saying this, but I'm just saying in general, when people are under a lot of pressure, they feel the need to come out and convince everyone else that something isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember. I'm actually going to see if I can upload the video now, but I don't remember her saying she's not going to jail. What she said, let me see if I can find the actual video because I think I downloaded it. To me, it sounded like what she said was that she spoke to the feds, but
she said they subpoenaed her.
Right.
Truly felt bad about how I slaughtered his ass yesterday.
Get past all this stuff.
I really feel bad about dragging him the way that I did. I know that I can be lethal. And everybody's telling me I can show you the DMs. Like, it was just, I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So when I get in there and he's saying, oh, yes, she can go to jail. Like two cases that they have the best case. I need to take this goddamn screen protector off this shit. It's gonna think that they have a bad case, but for him to base my case, I have attorneys, I have friends that are attorneys. I have 3 sets of attorneys that work for me. I almost said 3 like this, y'all. I have 3 sets of attorneys that do very different sets of work. Okay. And so, yes, I'm knee deep in with the attorneys that I have now. And there were certain things that was done on my part out of ego, okay, that caused a lot of this stuff to get further than it should. But at the end of the day, I do not regret being in litigation with Cardi B at all.
You know what? I think she's delusional. And one of the things that you have to realize is that when people say things like this, you have to call it for what it is. And that's why I kind of don't believe her. You're basically saying you stuck your hand in fire and you don't regret sticking your hand in the fire. You just got sued. You just got sued for basically, defamation of character and, so on and so forth. And you're saying you don't regret that. That's why I kind of don't believe her, Pico Benz. And I'm trying to find the part, where she says that she's been subpoenaed.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Go ahead.
And also, she's making a non-point. She's saying, I have a lot of friends who are attorneys and they work with me. Okay, but look at Michael Avenatti. He was an attorney and he got the hammer on him. You see what I'm saying? So it's like she's just throwing stuff out there trying to make us think that it's all as well, and it's not.
But
exactly.
She was in a red shirt. She was in a red shirt when she said that what he's saying she said.
Yeah. She was in. So you saying it's the other video?
I think it's the other video.
Yeah, she was in a red shirt, but she was at that same spot where she is in this shirt here.
All right, hold on a second.
This Tasha K as his. Why she pulled up the records or whatnot? We don't know. But the fact is, she said she gave it to 2 people who has daughter that was alleged accusers. So that in itself, we should, the attorney, if they get hold of that should play it out in court and work in R. Kelly's favor.
R. Kelly's favor.
Because right now they are
witness tampering.
Yes.
Tampering and breaching is privacy.
Yeah, witness tampering is actually another crime that I believe, right? I haven't really put a lot of thought into this, but let's say that Azrael could have potentially been a witness for R. Kelly, and now, she comes in and she flips the witness, and now the witness is a witness for the government. So yeah, I think that would qualify as
And
witness.
and do you also remember when Larry said, Larry and Angela, literally, they were actually trying to get her, pull her videos, and when she spoke up and spoke out and said that you guys, y'all use me. That's when they were really going hard at her, because it was some information that they was hoping that she did not put out.
Right. Well, you know what? Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I think I did see that video, but this is my own opinion. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any proof. But to me, that's just a cover your own ass tactic. Because you realize, see, this is what I think about Tasha K. I think she has a very entertaining platform, and I think that she's not paying attention to how she's getting some of this information, and she's not paying attention to how she could possibly be liable to defamation of character or
Yes.
emotional distress. She's not paying attention. She's just having a lot of fun. She's getting paid. She's making money, and she's not paying attention.
And all money, not good money.
Basically, there you go. So I think she's just made a few mistakes. If she makes it through this, I don't think she'll be make the same mistakes again.
And let me make one more comment, please.
Go ahead.
Can we FOIA the information that she shared?
FOIA? What do you mean?
Are we able to get through the Freedom of Information Act?
Well, it's still out there. It's still out there. Basically, all you have to do is, I'll tell you what. Let me see if I can share my screen. Because they show you what videos it is, and I don't think she ever took it down. Hold on a second.
No, I'm talking about if we send a FOIA to BOP, can we get Kel's medical records? Can we get his
hell
emails?
no.
There you
Hell
go.
no.
So that lets you know that the information is confidential. My point case. I'm part of
Right.
it.
Hold up. I don't think that is true though, because
You can't get another
You
man.
cannot get his medical records,
his
period.
medical
And
record.
you have to
You
work.
can't get
I
his
worked
prison
for
records either.
the I worked for the prison for the federal, and you actually have to work in a certain spot in order for you to be able to have access to. You can't just be a regular guard. You have to work in a certain area to have access to that. And for this person to have access to it, that meant she had to work in R&D.
Well,
meaning
I would say she just had privileged access. That's all.
So,
Like,
so can I say something?
go ahead.
So I don't know if that's all true in its entirety though, because a blogger, so-called R. Kelly blogger, they had his medical record on screen, could tell you what his A1C was, all this stuff.
who got that?
That was illegal as hell. Who had it?
Just go back to the video. I'm not gonna bring myself to call people's name because I'm not here for that. But it was there. I can tell you what his A1C was and all that stuff.
That's
Oh
illegal.
wow, that's crazy.
That's
I'm
illegal.
telling
That's invading his privacy rights.
Yep. If I see it, I'm telling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is invading his privacy. And nobody would want anybody to have access. And I keep telling these people, even on this side and that side, pulling people's information, you going to jail behind this. This is nonsense.
Right. And you know what? There's another thing that R. Kelly could potentially hit her with, but like everyone basically agrees that he won't have time to do that. He can hit her with doxing, and doxing is kind of like a new area of law where you take information, public information, and then you put it out there about a particular individual, and in order to attack or embarrass that individual, so that could potentially be on the table. But again, I think that even if R. Kelly wins this case, he still has probably up to 6 more years of litigation to go through, because he still has to, let's say he does win in New York, which I hope he does. He still has to come. Yeah, he still has to come back to Chicago, and he has to go through that. That's probably going to take another year and a half. Then if he wins that, then he still has to go to the state of Illinois, and he has to, that case hasn't even started, so that's probably going to be another 2.5 years. And then once he gets through that, then he would have to get through the litigation that's in Minnesota, and God knows what else pops up. Because look at Bill Cosby; he just got
But
acquitted.
can I ask this question? Okay, let's say that because of this stuff with Tasha K, because a lot of the stuff that Tasha K she had access to, she was talking about this here when she first started blogging about Robert, trying to discredit him. So evidently she had been, getting this information long before now. So my question remains, let's say that they, they want to charge Tasha K with whatever is going on with this here and throw the case out in New York. Can they throw it all out because of this?
Right.
When you said that, can they throw it all out because of this? What do you mean?
Because you're tampering with witnesses.
Well, this is what I think, right? This is what I think. So the breach happened in Illinois, but it happened in the federal district of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, and this is my opinion, I have no evidence or facts that I can present to you. I'm just speculating. This is purely speculation. The federal government is the federal government. And I always believe that the New York case and the federal New York case and the federal Illinois case should have been consolidated. But I believe that they're separating it to make it harder. And they're trying to, create this obstacle course that he has to get through. And they're basically trying to, use divide and conquer techniques to split his resources, right? So I think that the federal government is the federal government, and she breached the Bureau of Prisons information in Illinois, but it pertains information that has to do with a witness in New York. So I think if they throw out the Illinois, if they throw out the New York federal case, they would have to throw out the Illinois federal case as well. Because the same arguments could possibly be made there. The only tricky thing is that the federal case in Illinois is based off of, it's called, one of the charges is conspiracy to defraud the United States, meaning they're trying to charge him for cheating in a 2008 trial. So,
please, they can stop it.
That's basically, and I made lots of videos about that. Basically, it's double jeopardy, but they have this thing called dual sovereignty where the federal government and state government or multiple states can charge you for similar things. And that's how they get around it. But there's other things like successful prosecution, which should still be a defense for R. Kelly. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. So I think if they threw out the New York case, they should be able to throw out the Illinois federal case as well.
Okay, let me ask you this here. Let's say they were Robert was on the phone, and they record all the conversations, going and coming, and he was talking about the case, and so he was, giving directions on what to say and what not to say, and they find out about it. They're going to throw the book at him right away. It won't be no.
Hopefully he wasn't. He was smart. I don't think he would have been.
No. I'm using that as an example.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm saying that what works on one end should also work on the other end. So if you're tampering is tampering. If you're tampering on one end and somebody is tampering on the other end, tampering is tampering. And so therefore, if you're gonna throw the book at him for doing whatever he's doing to this case, his own case, but then you got somebody else on the outside that's doing something against him regarding it's the same issue. Why can't they just throw it out?
Right. Well, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think he would have been stupid enough, right? To basically, because nobody's gonna. And he had lawyers too, so I'm pretty sure his lawyers advised him not to say anything on those telephones because everybody knows the
But no,
government.
that's what I'm saying. He did not say anything, but
Right.
because he did not, but had he said something, they
Oh,
would
for
have
sure.
charged him and gave him life in prison. But
Right.
you got somebody else on the outside that's doing the same thing that pretty much the same thing that he would have been doing if he was doing it. So why aren't they trying to throw it out, throw the case out, and this man need to go free?
Right. No, I agree. I think they should basically dismiss the federal cases. We had another person, but it looks like misbehaving left. Yeah.
Can I
No.
make a quick comment?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I agree because not only is it when if Chaos is talking on the phone, he understands that the conversation is to be heard by the BOP.
Right.
Now does he think his information is going to be leaked to the entire world and the public? So, in my understanding, I believe that's another grounds for dismissal. Now, I also don't understand why they haven't presented it. Maybe they have a strategic way that they're going to, but in my mind, it's grounds for dismissal.
Oh yeah. But I think the biggest argument for the dismissal is that basically Tasha K interfered with the witnesses. I think that's the biggest grounds for dismissal. Misbehaving, welcome to the channel. What do you think about all this? Do you think R. Kelly should sue Tasha K? And what do you think in general?
Hey everybody. I'm just gonna be really quick and thank you for allowing me to come and chat really quick. I do think R. Kelly should sue once he gets the opportunity to, because he does have a lot of other cases that, as your first caller said, he has bigger fish to fry first. She knew she was obtaining private
Illegal.
information. She knew she was obtaining it illegally. And so she has to have accountability for that. I just want to stress though, because it does bother me if someone is floating around his A1C level, his potassium chloride levels, whatever. That's totally illegal. And that is a HIPAA violation because I am a nurse practitioner. We can sign over charts to the court so that the court can access that information. But that's it. It's not supposed to leave the judge, the jury, the prosecutor, and the defense. That's it. Medical records should not be shown to anyone else outside of that entity. So, as much as I have a disdain for his sexual appetite and deviant activities, as a nurse practitioner, I have to say someone has violated this man. They violated his medical records, whether he has herpes or not, whatever his A1C level is. None of that information we should be privy to. I have a definite problem with that because today it's him, tomorrow it'll be me, or the
Right.
next day it'll be you. You understand?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So hold on a second. So I noticed that you made some disparaging comments about him. Do you think he's innocent or guilty?
I think this man, much like Bill Cosby, has a sexual appetite for things that the men that I know probably would vomit at the thought of, and that I don't look at and want to participate in. Is it criminal? That depends on the age of the girls. Do I think he's violated any laws? If he, according to the state statutes, how old these girls were or whatever, we have to take that into accountability. But him wanting to poop on somebody, piss on somebody, hide them in cars and under trains and automobiles or whatever, like that's what he wants to do. That's his bedroom thing. And as much as it may disgust me, it has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing at all. And I do not think if I were sitting on that jury, once the state reads to me, the judge reads to me, and the jury foreman, what constitutes would constitute as a guilty verdict, I would be that probably one lone juror that would have to say not guilty because I just don't see it. I could be disgusted about him making somebody eat poop and pissing on them. I have a problem with him marrying Aaliyah. I also look at her parents and her uncle and want to know, okay, what were you guys doing when he was doing all this because he didn't hold anybody hostage. There's no
Right.
evidence that I know of where he's holding any of these people hostage. I have a daughter. I have a daughter, and I can't phantom her being 17, 18 years old, me not being able to go somewhere to pick her up and physically get her. So I do. I am that group of people that look at the parents and want to understand what were the parents doing. I look at the people that were around these said minors and want to understand, okay, how did he have access to these innocent children?
Right.
I'm not going to victim blame these little girls because they were not
Well,
mature enough.
let me interrupt you right there. So, I have a video series where I'm actually reading the transcripts, and Azriel Clary, he actually met Azriel Clary at his Black Panties tour, and from my understanding, he had roadblocks in the Black Panties tour where you had to be 18 and older to get into the tour, and Azriel Clary, according to the facts that came out, she actually lied about her age, and her mother basically knew that what was going on. So it's like, how, and I actually asked the lead attorney this question. He didn't want to answer, but it's like, how can you consider somebody like that a victim? You know what I'm saying?
Client, if R. Kelly were my client, we're gonna admit, hey, he likes pissing on people. He likes making them eat shit. He likes S&M. That's what he likes.
Right.
But is it criminal? Are we gonna
Right.
really police people's bedrooms? That's the angle that I would go. I would each victim. I would have a chart putting their age, how old they were, and the circumstances, and meeting them. Hey, if you're gonna charge me with something, this is what it needs to be. But was his activity criminal? Even though to us it may have been disgusting, by the definition of law, was it criminal for that sake? I would, if I were on that jury, vote not guilty. That's just how I feel. And
And I
this is
totally
coming from
agree with
somebody
you.
with a master's degree and 20 years of nursing.
Look, I totally agree
I
because
would vote
that's the
not
point.
guilty.
Yeah, that's the point of the
Get this
case.
and let me go home. Let me go home because what he does in his bedroom is no concern of mine. If these girls
Nobody's
are
business.
legal by the state statute, then whatever he had them doing, if 17 is the state in Illinois, whatever he had them doing at age 17, it concerns me not.
Right. Right. Well, I feel
And
I
once this
totally
case is
agree.
overridden, once he is done with the parts federal and state criminal, he needs to sit back with an attorney and go after these people. These Tasha K, she's wrong. I'm sorry, and I'm one black woman, and I do follow her. I follow her channel, but she's wrong.
right.
And
Right. Right.
anybody that is posting this guy's medical record, if I see it, I'm gonna tag it, and I have to turn it in because I took an oath to report stuff like that.
Right.
Thank
I have
you.
to
We
report it.
both did.
I
Thank
have
you.
to report it because me not reporting it and seeing it, I'm liable.
You're liable.
Right. 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 Well, hey,
Okay,
look,
but thank
guys.
you. I'm gonna leave out of here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, no, thank you, thank you. All right, so I've been at this for 2 hours, and it's Friday, and I want to get out of here. So, any closing remarks, Sandra?
No, I just want to say, free Robert. Let him come home and let him heal from all of the foolery that's been going on in his life for over these past it's almost 3 years.
Basically, actually, probably longer than that because
Yeah,
a lot of
yes,
this pressure has
yes.
been happening since like probably 2006.
And
So,
he said himself that they've been they've been doing this to him ever since he was acquitted of the previous charges. So you can imagine.
right, right. All right, Skylife IG. Any final comments?
Yes, I want to agree with Misguided. And she made a very, very important point that R. Kelly's sex life has nothing to do. It's not criminal. It's not illegal. And it should have nothing to do with the case. However, I feel that they are trying to use that to create him as a sexual deviant, to create a smoke screen, because they have not, to me, explained where these people were minors at the time these alleged sexual acts occurred. So I believe they're just trying to run a smear campaign on his sex life to try and add that to, slander him and make his character look bad in order to try and get a conviction. But I've seen several things that have occurred that even if he gets convicted, he's gonna also get off on appeal. He has several options to appeal. But that's really it, Free Chaos, and thank you for letting me come on.
No, thank you for coming on, and hope to see you again. Yeah, I've always said that I think this is basically a public persecution before the prosecution. I think that's what's going on here. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We're 2 to 3 weeks into this case. I would estimate we probably have like maybe 2 more, and then we'll get a verdict. So let's see what happens. But that's it for this live cast. Thank you for joining, everybody. I'll try to do these more frequently. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys again.